Hey everybody, welcome to a special bonus video here on the Chris's Pals Likey Movie Trivia channel. I am, of course, Chris, but today I'll be known as Chainsaw McMassacre Face, and we're doing something a little different here. And I don't usually host these Halloween episodes, so I feel a lot more comfortable just kind of passing the microphone down to uh, I think, well, he's below me. That's why I'm saying down in this gallery view. Baum, because he has a little bit of a better idea, I think, of how this chat's going to go about. Baum, take it away.
Yeah, that's funny because you're to my left, right?
I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be on the screen.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, this is a good time of the year because we've got at least a couple weeks left of the month. We're going to each give our list of like 10 Halloween movies that we think anybody watching should definitely check out this season. So we're going to go around in a circle, and I don't know who we're going to start with yet. We'll figure that out. We'll start with number 10, get up to number 1, not necessarily to imply that there's a ranking or hierarchy. We're just going to each kind of throw out 10 movies, and at the end we'll have a big long list and people can watch them. They should watch them.
Right? I'm so happy you clarified that because I don't know that I have a ranking exactly, but I've got
to just if it's on the list, it's probably one you like, right? So that's good enough.
That you likey.
You likey enough.
And those movies will probably be down in the comments. So if you want to check out the full list, they'll probably be down the
We might make a little letterboxed page with 15 pages of ads you have to click through to get to it.
It's true.
Or another online database of movies.
Oh yeah.
Letterboxd.
Like IMDb.
I don't know.
These are letters. .com, right?
Right.
You're gonna do the WWs, right? Okay.
So yeah, I'll help out. I'll introduce more of the panel. Obviously, we have Baum here, and then we also have Johnny El Diablo Potatoes. Johnny, how you doing today?
Good. How are you, Chainsaw?
I'm doing just peachy. Looking forward to the lovely Halloween coming up. It's good to be back in somewhat normal times. Still be safe with Halloween and such. But
it is one of my favorite times of year. I do love a costume, as the viewers have learned over the course of the show. Any opportunity to dress up, I'm happy.
And you and I both have something in common now. As of last night, my significant other Sue and I, we went to the Jack-o'-lantern spectacular that is happening here in the Louisville area. 10 years now they've been doing it in this area. Anyway, I was
and
pretty.
I've seen 9 of them. I missed the first year, but have been every year since.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think we missed last year too. I don't remember. Was it last year or the year before that they had stay in your car, drive through?
It was 2020, and I got to walk the path like during the day. They let people walk if they didn't want to drive. So I did that year.
We did the drive, and I'm sure they are happy to be rid of that. But
I've heard horror stories.
Anybody in the area or anybody planning to visit Louisville in October, I highly recommend it. Not a sponsor, but definitely check it out.
It's worth checking out. And we know 2 of the artists that create the jack-o'-lanterns.
We most certainly do.
Nice to have a connection as well.
Shout out to them, yes. We have another lovely guest on our panel here, DJ Uncle Spoopy season.
Yeah, it's spoopy season, don't you know?
I thought it was. I thought you were going to be Snoopy season, and then I thought you were expecting it the spooky season. I didn't know. Now it's Spoopy. How you doing there, DJ? Are you feeling all right?
I am good, feeling nice and spoopy. I just came from a quick little rehearsal tonight for a show that I'm in, and we're working with children, so that's the real terror.
Yeah.
Never work with children or animals, but this kid's not awful. She's pretty delightful, but still, kid, you.
Well, come October 31st, you might have a few of them knocking at your door. So might as well get used to it, right?
Not me. I live in an apartment complex.
Oh, okay. Well,
That doesn't mean nothing.
way ahead of the curve there. Good job.
Right.
And F-Bomb, thanks for doing the intro. But how you feeling? We need to see how you're doing, man.
Kind of overwhelmed today, but doing good now. It's been a rough day. We don't need to necessarily go into why, but let's. It's an exam day. It's been an exam day, so we'll say that. Yeah. Lots of perplexed college students headed my way. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll go first. I'll start here. We have decided to each give 10 movies that we would recommend, and I feel like with my list, I started out making 3 lists. I had one that was I was calling it Dark But Light. That's kind of the funny comedies and such that you could watch during Halloween, or things that aren't too awful to have on in the background for, like, say, an everybody party or something. I also had a list called Thrilling, which I felt.
Did we lose him?
Or no, or
yeah, it looks like he is frozen.
He's going to come back as one of those paranormal entities, isn't he?
Yep.
Those movies where
full of movies that they just kind of.
Okay, back up like 45 seconds.
Yep. The thrilling list.
So there's also a list of thrilling movies that I was making. That's more your movies that you're going along for the ride. They just keep you going, and you don't know really which turn it's going to take. Such, and then the third list were disturbing movies. Those are the films that they just kind of had me shaken to my core, and I can't really let go of them. They're in my memory banks, whether I want them there or not.
Sure.
Yeah. So then in our little private chat that we have, spoilers, kayfabe, and breaking and all that, F-Bomb said something along the lines of, say the movies that you want people to see. And I felt like if I started saying a lot of films that are constantly on the top 10 of all these horror lists, I would bore myself. So I want to say some movies that not necessarily everybody is aware of. So we're going to start there. I will start by saying a very recent film that I just saw in the theater last month. Very happy with this film. It's called Barbarian. It came out in 2022. It is a lovely movie. Lovely. It's one of these thriller movies, I would say. It takes you for the ride. And honestly, I feel bad saying anything about it because I feel like the less you know going in on this movie, the better. I can tell you that it has a cast of Justin Long. It has Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise in the most recent It movies. The main protagonist is played by Georgina Campbell. I thought she was excellent. She's very good. The premise is a woman is staying at an Airbnb and discovers that the house she has rented is not what it seems. That's
all you can say, right?
Yeah. that's how we start off.
Like a little summary from a online database of movies.
Yeah. That's from one website. I could tell you what another one says about it here in just a moment. But it does start off with her and Bill Skarsgård, and she thought she was going to be alone at this Airbnb. This guy is suddenly here as well. And I don't really want to say too much after that, but
I think that's all we need. I think we're enticed.
Yeah. Somehow Justin Long comes in. It's here's another description. In town for a job interview, a young woman arrives at her Airbnb late at night, only to find that it has been mistakenly double booked and a strange man is already staying there. Against her better judgment, she decides to stay the night anyway, but soon discovers that there is much more to be afraid of in the house than the other house guest. So the reason I love this movie so much is it plays a lot with editing. and it'll cut to another scene before you're ready for it to, and you just got to be along for the ride. It's fantastic.
And cinematography, I noticed some of the framing is set up to introduce that moment of tension, that dread, and there's these like match cuts where you let's say you have a perspective of a character without giving too much away, and you cut to a perspective at a different point in time where the composition is the same, and you realize this person is watching from a different time and place. Right?
And maybe you'll get some narration to help explain a little, like maybe some a title card or something, or maybe not. It's telling the story it wants to. And the movie is written and directed by he's a guy from The Whitest Kids You Know.
Oh, you're the best, man.
Yeah, Zach Kreger.
Zach Kreger, that's right.
Yeah,
he is. He's so funny. Like he plays obnoxious Abe Lincoln in one of my favorite sketches. And so Lincoln's just obnoxious and talking in the theater until eventually John Wilkes Booth has to go up and take care of him to shut him up.
Not in the movie I'm talking about.
Everybody's
but
trying to watch the play.
Yeah,
check that out. It's if you're looking for a place to start, that's a good place to start with this. But it's that situation where you have a sketch comedy guy turned horror. Seems to have like a sort of unique vision for horror. That's a very familiar thing, right?
Yeah. So I'll start with that one. Barbarian. Definitely go check it out.
Good choice. Any other comments on Barbarian?
No, it's definitely on my list to see. It's
okay.
I'm definitely looking forward.
Yeah, same here.
You haven't seen it yet?
Not yet.
Oh, yeah. Check it out. We shouldn't say too much about it then. And broadcast anyway. Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna stop there.
Who else has a number 10?
I will go. I will say I had a little different approach to my list. I tend to overthink things. So what I did is I was like, what were 10 movies that left an impact on me that I'm able to recall in this category? So that's kind of where my list springs from. There are a lot of mainstream movies that if you haven't seen, by all means, see them. But we'll kind of go case by case. And I will say that I have dressed up as characters from 4 of these 10. I didn't realize that until after the after the list was created. But my number 10 is kind of an out of left field choice. It's called Idle Hands. And it's from 1999. It is a film I saw in the theater. And the summary is: a teenage slacker's right hand becomes possessed with murderous intent. And it stars Devon Sawa from Casper the Friendly Ghost. It also has Seth Green and Jessica Alba. It also has Vivica A. Fox in a very fun role as well. The reason this movie impacted me so much is it's just terrible. It's just awful, but it's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Seth Green, not too much of a spoiler because number one, it's from 1999. Number two, it was in the trailer for the film. Seth Green is killed by Devon Sawa's possessed hand by having a bottle shoved through his forehead. And that is a costume I did in 1999. Nice. I was zombie Seth Green with a bottle coming out of my head. But it's just a lot of fun. Kid's hand gets possessed by a demon and wants to kill, and so it's about him trying to deal with that. It's just a lot of fun. It's
like you do.
Yeah, like you do. It's a quick hour and a half, and you have Jessica Alba in a sexy angel outfit if you're into that kind of thing. So definitely check out Idle Hands if you're looking for something not too scary but a lot of fun.
That movie, I remember it came at the tail end of like a decade of this genre trope of people's body parts going crazy, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like Michael Caine's The Hand, and then they had Evil Dead 2, and like body parts where it's like this idea of, we can get evil parts, and now we're evil, like we got to fight the part of us that's evil. Like there's some essentialized badness in like a hand or a foot or something.
Yeah, just a disembodied villain.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
I had forgot that Devon Sawa was the central protagonist of that one.
Yeah. Yep. It's in prime Devon Sawa time.
Yeah, definitely a name of the 90s on that one.
So for my number 10, so I'll preface this by saying that like My list was created somewhat haphazardly. I'll admit it. I was like, are these Halloween movies that I like? Are these movies I think people should watch? Are these movies I watch every year? Am I trying to be clever? So it's kind of an amalgamation of everything. Why not? Um, but for my number 10, I will say I did kind of cheat because I listed number 10 as a franchise and not a single movie. But my number 10 is actually the Babysitter movies on Netflix. If you guys are not aware of these movies, they're a lot of fun. Definitely fall on the horror comedy side. Very, very, very funny, very, very campy. And, there's not a lot to write home about in terms of like the movie making, but there's just a lot of fun performances, a lot of really fun kills. And I would say most notably, one of the things that came out of it is it was one of the very first things that launched Samara Weaving, who has kind of, with this and another film that maybe we'll mention later, I don't know, has kind of cemented her as one of the new final girls in the horror genre. But just a quick little kind of synopsis of the first movie. I don't want to give anything away to the second one because there is a second one and it's a lot of fun too. But there's a kid named Cole. I believe he's in middle school. His best friend is his babysitter. One of his friends says, "Hey, you know what babysitters do when you go to bed? They have parties and they drink and they make out. So you should stay up late and see what your babysitter does." And so one night he stays up late to see what's going on. And it kind of tackles the question, what do you do when you find out that your babysitter is the lead of a satanic cult? And then the movie kind of takes off from there. So that is my number 10, the babysitter and the babysitter Killer Queen. Definitely recommend for a ton of fun, not too scary, some really fun kind of silly kills, but a really good time.
Cool. Yeah, those cult horror movies are really in right now. It's a big thing to see this a group of people that like see your unbearable pain and they're going, yes, this is what we love. Yes.
Sort of breakdown of individuality. It terrifies us, right? Some collective madness.
I was watching a little horror movie countdown thing on YouTube, and somebody said that swarms of anything are bad and scary, but like swarms of people, I feel like that might be the scariest.
I would tend to agree with that.
I haven't seen it, but I'm aware of it.
Yeah,
Samara Weaving is like the reason to watch it. She's just great from the start.
Yeah, I liked her in it. Well, I don't want to give a title in case you do use it, but it's kind of obscure. We'll see if I mention it later. Yeah. Okay. Well, if you're ready, I'll go ahead and give my number 10. This is a little bit mainstream. It has some local significance, though. I've got Return of the Living Dead. So, has anybody heard of this movie, right?
Oh yeah, you've mentioned it on the show a few times.
Local significance because it takes place here, right? And we get to lovingly see our well, not to give away the ending, but something interesting happens to our location, right? I love this movie. It hooked me from a young age. It sort of gave me a sense of what cool was, right? You have like these sort of crazy punk rock guys, and you have the Linnea Quigley, who's a sort of nihilist and doesn't care about anything, and gets naked and dances on the tombstone in the graveyard, and you have a really cool musical soundtrack, like a sort of 80s sort of punk rock and metal soundtrack, some cool songs. It's a very violent movie. It's very disturbing in a lot of ways. It's also really funny, right? You guys see that?
Oh yeah.
you see the little guy. Okay, I don't know if it looks like our yeah, okay. The Tar Man, the image of the Tar Man to the right side of the screen there. It's not just that it looks cool. It's got all these really funny and iconic lines. It's like the violence is there, but it's not really it's sickeningly gory, but in a way that doesn't disturb you because it's framed in such a funny narrative. And the narrative itself is kind of really concise and everything fits together so well, which is kind of characteristic of a Dan O'Bannon movie. So, and there's a story behind this being sort of an unofficial sequel to the Night of the Living Dead trilogy, because Romero got into a legal dispute with Russo at some point. So one of them ended up with ownership of the franchise, but lost ownership of the term Living Dead. So from then on, Romero had to call his stuff like Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Survival of the Dead, all of that. And Russo he kept trying to make Return of the Living Dead, and eventually ended up being made in this form.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. That's wild.
Yeah. Any thoughts or comments on that movie?
Man, put a trademark on the phrase "Living Dead." That's I mean, that is kind of his. You're fired, I guess. I
don't think it was his decision. I think it's the idea that there was a dispute over who owned the story at some point. And what's interesting about Night of the Living Dead, I don't know if that's going to end up on anybody's list, but the reason that ended up in the public domain was that they changed it from Night of the Flesh Eaters. So they changed the title card at the last minute. And when they changed that frame, they took out the little copyright mark under the title that used to be there. And so it literally made the movie fall into the public domain. So they people were they could show a print of it if they had it, and they wouldn't have to pay any money toward the studio or Romero or anybody. That's why there's like 3,000 copies of that on DVD in every supermarket, right? It was in the public domain.
I have it's been ages since I've seen the movie, and I caught it on TV one time. One of the local channels was playing it, probably around Halloween time. And the one thing I remember is I think somebody stuck a screwdriver in a disembodied head, and the head says something like, "Get this screwdriver out of my head," and it's just obviously a puppet skull or something. So that's
I don't know if that's
the only thing I remember.
Yeah, there's the famous line is where the zombies swarm over the Louisville cops, and they're trying to reach them on the radio. They're like, "Is somebody there? Unit 38 or whatever." And one of the zombies picks up the radio and is like, "Send more cops." Right? So we're still hungry over here.
That's awesome.
Right. Okay. That was so we got number 10. We took a little time with that, but
that's all right.
Yeah.
We'll keep going. I'm gonna throw in a film. It's by Wes Craven. And I feel like it gets overlooked a lot, considering Wes Craven's, all his other work. But I've got him on cards now. If y'all can see that, this one's going to be called "The Serpent and the Rainbow." So this is a film where voodoo is a huge factor. I've got the description up here. It's from 1988. And it's based on based on a book of this guy that actually went to Haiti. I mean, it's loosely based, but a Harvard anthropologist is sent to Haiti to retrieve a strange powder that is said to have the power to bring human beings back from the dead. In his quest to find the miracle drug, the cynical scientist enters the rarely seen netherworld of walking zombies, blood rites, and ancient curses. Based on the true life experiences of Wade Davis and filmed on location in Haiti, it's a frightening excursion into black magic and the supernatural. This was I had this one in my disturbing list because I heard the description and I said, "Oh my gosh, I have to check this out." Bill Pullman is the star of the film. He's the one playing the Wade Davis character. We also have Paul Winfield, the late great Paul Winfield, in it. And it's I'm not gonna sit here and tell you it's the best movie ever. There are times where it's definitely aged a little, but I went in expecting something not that not that soul crushing, I guess. It was just kind of I was shaken to the core. And Bill Pullman, I think, does a fine job. One of his better performances, I would argue. It's under the radar, and definitely worth checking out. Have either of you seen The Serpent and the Rainbow?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. How do you
I have
feel
not,
about that?
but now I would like to.
It's top tier Wes Craven, I would say. I would put it easily in his top movies. And like you said, it just creates this creepy vibe. It gives you sort of a perspective inside a weird little world, right? And that's what I like about horror movies, if they create a kind of world. And it's like, of course, as you know, closed-minded Westerners, we don't know a lot about voodoo. So in a certain sense, maybe there is a little bit of exoticism of a legitimate, cultural, way of life. But at the same time, you do have, it's like, it's a new sort of mythology on the occult, right? A new sort of way of telling that story that's been told so many times before. There's a little bit of torture horror in that movie, isn't there?
A little bit, yeah. And for 1988, that was a bit out there. I mean, definitely took a strong left turn. Yeah, you're right. It is kind of disturbing. It's got a good ending,
Yeah, definitely one I'll check out.
Yeah,
it's good choice.
Yeah, I'm going to keep on the disturbing look at a different culture with my number 9. Definitely much more of a mainstream film, Midsummer or Midsommar. For those who don't know, a couple travels to Northern Europe to visit a rural hometown's fabled Swedish Midsummer Festival. What begins as an idyllic retreat quickly devolves into an increasingly violent and bizarre competition at the hands of a pagan cult. The reason this one made my list is because of that disturbing imagery, but it's not so much the gory, and there are definitely some gory parts, but it's just like you said, it's the eeriness of like that kind of groupthink and that kind of that mob mentality that really makes it disturbing for me. And I also dressed as one of the cult members a couple years ago for Halloween, so that's another one that I've dressed up as. But it's definitely one that has a lasting impression. There's a lot of great visuals in the film. It's one of the most beautifully photographed horror movies that I've seen.
Yeah,
definitely has a distinct look that kind of makes it even more eerie. That everything is so beautiful and what's going on under the surface.
Yeah, I would argue that it was overlooked by the Academy on a few things like production design and costume design, because it did really feel like we were in this other country, and there's just you touched upon it. Watching that film, at least for me, there was this ill feeling throughout,
even before like weird stuff like actually happens. Like there's such a great build in that film. Like you know almost immediately something's off, and then you don't really see until like some major things happen. But it kind of does create a great feeling of dis-ease, unease. And Florence Pugh is amazing in it. Like she does some great work in that film.
A banner year for her, because she sandwiched this movie with at the beginning of the year she did Fighting with My Family,
and
which
Little Women,
the pro wrestling that I love, and Little Women, her Oscar nominated performance. So this was a nice creamy center.
There's something about
like a nice pie.
Something about bilateral symmetry, like where you have a figure framed right in the middle and the world's just split up in perfect halves. It's like a mirror image on both halves. That's really unsettling because the world doesn't really look that way. Sort of oversaturated colors, everything just looking so perfect, so staged. It's like, it unsettles you because it's so unnatural looking.
Yeah, I love Midsummer. It's on my honorable mentions list. And I just wanted to say, too, that it is really an interesting watch because Ari Aster figures out a way to evoke like such terror and unease in broad daylight for probably about 95% of the movie. So it's just, it's very kind of takes down all your barriers like immediately, and you're just like there's like no protection just because it's light outside. Like it's just oof, it's a lot.
And I feel like you have to applaud that a horror movie that can play with the daylight like that.
Oh
And
yeah.
like again, that movie list I was watching, they brought up, and I don't know if this, I hope this isn't on anybody's list, but apologies if it is. Feel free to keep using it. An American Werewolf in London. They talk about the transformation of the werewolf being really the first one to do so in a lit room.
Yeah.
And
you see the transformation itself.
Yeah, exactly. It was probably a big contribution to the best makeup Oscar being created, and that movie being the first recipient of it. So, I mean, yeah, there's something to be said about we don't need the darkness to scare you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay.
So, should I move on to my number 9?
Yeah.
So I would be remiss if I didn't put a musical on my list, and one that I do find myself revisiting every year, as cliche as it is Rocky Horror Picture Show. I mean, there's not a lot to say about it. It's just so much fun. So over the top, great performances from what would become an all-star cast, because they were all still very early in their careers, save for probably Tim Curry. He was probably the most established at the time. But yeah, and it's just a really fun movie to watch by yourself with a group of people late at night. If you want to do the call out, it's just like the ultimate spooky season, have a good time participation movie. I don't know. Like I said, there's not a lot to say about it. Everybody loves the Rocky Horror Picture Show for the most part. So
it's a classic. And
yeah.
I've played those songs. So much fun.
Yeah, and I won Halloween dressed up as Riff Raff. So now I'm moving on to other people's lists that I've dressed up as.
I'm a former Dr. Frankenfurter. That was one of the first roles I got cast in a play right after college. Actually, it was the first one right after college. And I went in auditioning to maybe be the Meatloaf role. And they said, we want to give you Frank. And I was like, you sure? They're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, let's try it. Let's give it a whirl. And it led to me wearing size 15 ruby slippers. It was really fun to do the quick change. And in the movie, it's like this too. Tim Curry is the priest at the very beginning with the wedding scene. Yeah. And when you're watching a live performance, you be sure to applaud Frank when he first shows up, because he was back there hustling his buns, trying to change into the sweet transvestite. So I love that movie. It was in my dark but light list. I definitely was going to bring that one up as a wonderful Halloween contribution.
I've got a Tobe Hooper. We'll call it a classic. Life Force. Has anybody seen this one?
I have not seen it. I know Tobe Hooper though.
Right. So Tobe Hooper is famous for another movie, right? This is interesting. This is an interesting movie. It's got a very young Patrick Stewart, right? I love the sort of creature effects that were in sort of a renaissance in the mid 80s here. This is a drained vampire and emotion in the face, all of the articulation of the features. It's disturbing. It's a feeling of the uncanny. But what's interesting about this movie is it's adapted from a short story. The person who wrote the short story, I can't remember the name, Colin Wilson, I think. Now that I'm hated this movie. It's like this, just a terrible Hollywood bloated adaptation of my brilliant story. But I'm like, this movie has everything. It's so corny, but it's like, is it an alien movie? Is it a vampire movie? Is it a zombie movie? Right? A possession movie, like where you're like, okay, where's the evil now? Is it inside this person or is it in Patrick Stewart? I don't know. It's like, is it an apocalypse movie or what is it? It's all of these things together. And at the end, it's just like, you could tell that it's sort of starts to suffer under the burden of trying to put all these elements together. But he really, he just went for it. There's these massive set pieces, these massive scenes where all hell is breaking loose and you've got space vampires and zombies attacking the city. It's like, yeah, I highly recommend this if you haven't seen it.
Sounds good. I like it. And gotta love a movie with Patrick Stewart in it.
Yeah, a young Patrick Stewart and his first on-screen kiss.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
with Steve Railsback.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah. Actor who played Charles Manson at some point.
That's the one. That's one you want on the resume.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, did anybody else have anything to say about Life Force? Because I'm gonna check that one out. That one sounds fun.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty wacky.
Without doubt.